interested in learning about the point of view and insight from a very successful small business focusing in a lot of blue collar jobs, then this is the episode for you. My name is Brandon Evans, and I'm the Director of Employers Training Resource, the county's Chief Workforce Development Officer, but you can just call me the Jobs Guy. And today I get the honor to interview and talk with Ryan Carney, who is the President and CEO for Ernst and Modern Machines. And before we get too far into this, just want to welcome you, Ryan. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate the opportunity to get here and talk about jobs in Kern County.
Sweet. So let's just start with giving the audience a chance to learn about you.
Okay.
Are you local? What's your career path? How did you get from wherever you started to now owning two businesses?
Yeah, so it's a long journey. My family moved to Bakersfield when I was 5 years old. So I grew up here, went to high school. After high school, I moved back to the Pacific Northwest, where I was from. Was there for a few years, came back to California, went to college at UCLA, studied mathematics. After college, I worked in the aerospace industry for about 10 years. And then I just needed to get back to using my hands. Mm-hmm. In high school, I built houses for a buddy of mine who was a contractor here in town. And it was working in aerospace was great. I got the experience. I was doing a lot of software development, systems engineering, behind a computer all day. And it just wasn't me. I could feel it, So I left the South Bay, and I just took a little while to figure out what I was doing. I started a bicycle company, moved to Japan, lived there for a couple years, ended up moving to New York. The company Kinfolk, we built like a lifestyle brand around it, design company. We ended up having a restaurant and a cafe, clothing company, bicycle company. We just kind of developed a brand around this idea of bringing people together and craftsmanship and good design. And then I was in New York for 15 years. I did that. COVID kind of came around. It changed the environment. I'd always been wanting to get back to California, so we sold the businesses, the trademarks, and I moved back out to California, and I was here for a year, kind of trying to figure it out. I've been working for myself for 25 years. I couldn't really just go get a job. Right. I didn't want to. And I got the opportunity to buy Ernst Manufacturing, which is a post-harvest agricultural equipment manufacturer here in Bakersfield. It's been around since the 40s. Bought it from the Echeverry family. And it was my first experience back in manufacturing. I'd done home building and carpentry, but I'd never done metal fabrication. I have a mechanical engineering mind, but didn't have a lot of experience at it. So it took a couple years to figure it out, and we brought a bunch of engineering into the company. We're using modern techniques for the manufacturing. We're just trying to innovate the company, kind of bring it to a modern company, because it lagged for a little bit. And then I was like, okay, we're outsourcing a lot of our machine work, and got the opportunity to buy Modern Machine that's up in Tehachapi, and that was a great opportunity to bring some of the work in house, and so that's kind of where we're at now. We're an OEM equipment manufacturer and a machine shop, and we're looking to grow. The machine shop has contracts with the Navy. We do work for NASA and Virgin. So we're doing now. I'm kind of getting back into aerospace, which is where I started, which is really cool because I do have a passion for it, and I do have a passion for ag. So we're in a really good balance here in Kern County because there's a lot of representation of agricultural and aerospace.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I want to ask, one question about some of what you said. Can you give us some, if you were able to talk to a young person who's trying to figure out their career path, what's the takeaway from all that you've gone through?
Oh, I've always spent a lot of time like fighting with what do you really want to do, and
Sounds
you,
like
you
it.
know,
Yeah.
and you're driven. Sometimes you're driven by finances, sometimes you're driven by passion, and sometimes you're driven by what other people are telling you.
Right.
And I've learned that you really got to come back inside and think, what is it that what is it Ryan wants to do, and be honest to yourself, and and go for that, because we live in a wonderful country that provides opportunity, and in a lot of places you don't get that opportunity. Well, here you do, and you got to work hard. You can't just, and you have to be realistic, right?
Yeah.
And if you are and you work hard, then and you're true to yourself, then you can do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. And so as a young kid, I wish someone would have pulled me aside and been like, spend some time, think about what you want to do. Go try a bunch of things until something really fits,
Right.
and do that. And because not everyone's meant for a 4-year degree to go be a lawyer or a doctor or something. There's a lot of opportunities to provide for yourself and your family, and do it, and pretty much whatever you have that passion for.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's excellent. That's excellent. And, go Bruins. I didn't go to UCLA, but, sports-wise, I tend to be a fan.
Yeah.
And, you talk about being behind a desk and all of this. What was it that gave you the courage to, launch out on your own and trust yourself?
That was the hardest. That was probably the hardest barrier to get through, to really trust that, schooling helped with that, right? Because you go to school, and if you do a good job, you kind of learn to trust yourself. And I was around some really great entrepreneurs. My grandfather was a great entrepreneur. My uncles here in Bakersfield.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just was kind of around it, but I never, as a kid, as a youth, I didn't have the confidence to trust in myself that I could go out and do it. I think after going to college, I was like, this is great. I had spent some time working, before I went to college a little bit late. I think I was 23 when I started.
Interesting.
So that gave me, I worked in the workforce. I built houses in 107 degrees in Bakersfield. So I knew, I just had a lot of experience. And so I just, I don't know if it was life experience or confidence, or just it was what I was meant to do. I just gained the confidence, and now I've been working for myself for 25 years, and I couldn't not do that.
Understood.
And it's the there's a lot of stress, and there's a lot of, you have to really work hard, but the confidence, or knowing that you wake up in the morning and the reward is based on the efforts and the thought process and the people you surround yourself with. It's really rewarding.
Yeah, you have a situation where if you're working hourly, that's great, but you're never going to make any more money than you're paid hourly. But in your case, the extra effort, all of that can pay off, bottom line.
And it's, to me, it's more about the freedom.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to, I start work at 6 in the morning. But if I wake up and I want to start at 7, guess what? I'll start at 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I want to take a day off and go to the beach and go surfing because the waves are good, if I can do that, and you have to, you can't always do that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But
the work still needs to get done.
But if you put yourself in a situation where that freedom, to me, is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Like the money side, the financial stuff is secondary. It's really the freedom that drives me to be an entrepreneur. And I like employing people.
Mm-hmm.
I like giving them the opportunity. I like taking somebody who maybe doesn't have that confidence like I didn't have when I was a kid, and really and see them grow and start to give them more responsibility and opportunity. And that, to me, having someone who's worked with me for 15 years or 20 years and seeing them grow and now being able to support their family, and maybe they didn't go to college, but they're now making a good wage
Right.
with a real good skill set, and they have the desire to, have a real desire to build things. That's a passion I've learned as a manufacturer. It really gives me great pleasure to see something on the computer or in a drawing and find out how to make that.
Right.
And make it really well, and then see it operate. We build, we delivered some equipment to Grimway here in town last year, and, to go out to their manufacturing facility or to their plant and watch, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of pounds of carrots go over that machine every day, and then you go in the grocery store and you're like, I bet you that carrot went over one of my machines.
That's right.
It's just
That's
really
right.
cool,
Yes,
And
yes.
so that brings pleasure, and I like passing that on and seeing other people grab that and be like, I like that too,
Yeah. So let's just dive in deep with Ernst Modern Machine. What's going on a daily basis? What are you doing?
So Ernst, we have a product line and it's the technical area of, like, subcategory of agricultural equipment. It's post-harvest. So that's as the produce comes out of the field, then it's our responsibility to process it. So we have grading machines, cleaning machines, sorting, inspection, boxing, everything that takes, let's say, an onion from out of the field, dirty onion, to a processed onion that goes in a bag or a box that goes to a facility. So, and there's a lot of conveyors. So we build that processing line, and we do it for onions, potatoes, peaches, carrots, most produce that's grown, especially around here, we have our hand in it, some part of that process. So day to day, we have a team of engineers that we're designing equipment. We're designing lines for, like, a customer might call and say, hey, I want to build a new line. I want to expand the line I currently have. So then we build, we design that line, and then from there, we have to build it. So we have to order the raw material and the bearings and the chain and whatever else needs to go in there that we can't produce ourselves.
Right.
And then we get the team to start fabricating it, and then once it's fabricated, sometimes we'll go and install it as well.
Excellent. And you do some repair of existing machinery, right?
Right. Yeah. So we'll build new equipment. People will send us equipment we've built or other people have built back to fix. We do installation. We sell parts. So we try to do as much customer service as possible. These farmers and these processing facilities, they're really, the harvest is happening, right? You're not stopping it. So
Right.
there's a lot of times when they really just need something right now, because if they're down, they're losing a big portion of their yearly revenue
Right.
every minute, right?
Yeah.
And it's like peaches are a good example. We do one of the largest peach facilities here in California, and they run their whole season's crop in like 40 days.
Oh, wow.
So if any part of that plant is down, and they run almost 24 hours for those 40 days, but if something happens, it's huge, right? It's
Right.
if it's down for a day, it's 1/40 of the revenue. It's
Yeah.
a big deal. So we have to, we jump when they tell us to. We really kind of got it. We help them out because we know how important it is that the equipment that we build or that we're taking responsibility for maintaining is fixed.
Yeah, when you think time is of the essence, it's like, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Especially when you're dealing with food.
Yeah, so what positions do you hire for? What do you look for in your employees? Let's talk about that.
Okay, so mechanical engineering, draftsman, start kind of from, the in the office side all the way through the shop. And then we need fabricators, so welders, and then there's different levels of welders, right? There's like a journeyman level welder all the way to a new welder. So we need people who can take a drawing and build a machine from a drawing. So that would be like your journey level fabricator. And then all the way to a guy who's new and he's learning how to use a saw or a grinder and prepping for paint or powder coat or whatever we're doing with the metal. So there's a whole line of that, and we're small and we try to make sure everyone has a little bit of experience in all of it, right? Like, I want my highest level fabricator to be able to come in and understand how to work on a CAD system,
Yeah.
And they may not, they always want to go back out to the shop, and that's where they're at. But it's good to help people get well rounded, and then I want my engineers to be out in the shop. So sometimes I'll take the engineer and I'll be like, okay, well, you're gonna learn how to grind today, just so they get it. I think it's important. There's a lot of in an environment like that, there's usually a separation, and the fabricators are always like, oh, these engineers, they design it this way and they don't really know how to make things. Well, and an engineer's only as good as he knows how to work with the guys who are making the things. So I try to get everyone together and they share skills, and it really helps create an environment where there's some camaraderie and that shared in skill, passing the skills back and forth. It just creates a better environment, I think. So, yeah, we're constantly looking for people who have this manufacturing mindset and the skill set to be able to build things, and it's really an eye for. What I appreciate in someone is they just have a real eye for the detail, and that takes some real training, and especially when we do stuff in the aerospace thing, the details matter.
Right.
And so that's something else we try to teach people, is just how to really pay attention to the details of it, because
You mean you can't be a half inch off?
you can't be a half inch off. No. we try to teach. It's funny. You say that because my head engineer is like, well, there's no room for a tape measure in a fab shop, and I'm like, come on, you're not. They're not using calipers out in the fab shop, so it's funny. He is very much Jerry is very much like, yes, no, everything has to be within a 32nd or a 64th, and I'm just like, well, that's not reality. So, but we do. The tolerances are really based on what you're building, right?
Right.
Some of our sizers, a 64th or a 32nd is fine. A 16th sometimes is fine too.
Got it. Understood. So, where are you finding your better employees? How does that look? I want to kind of start with you and use you and your operation as a lens into the greater mechanical engineering, lay of the land, maybe even welders. Like, what does that look like for you finding your future employees, and what does it look more generally to people in your industry? Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, we've met because I have shared my struggles finding a skilled labor force here in Kern County. We have a long history of making things here in Kern County, and a lot of that is left, and I think a lot of, when I talk to my more experienced guys who have been here in Kern County for 20 plus years, 30 years doing this, when I talk to them, they're like, yeah, the 20 guys I know in town that used to do that, they're not here anymore. They moved to Texas or Arizona, or they retired. So a lot of the skilled fabricators and machinists, they're aging out or they've left town, and so we really it's a challenge. It's the most challenging part for me in growing this business has been finding skilled labor, and so that's kind of the next step. And what we've talked about in the past is like, okay, well, let's figure out how to, there's a need for it. And I'm not the only manufacturer here in town who has the same need. Let's figure out how to get kids really interested in making things so that we can train them to get involved in this, because it's really important. I mean, for a lot of reasons why we need a really skilled workforce.
Well, yeah. So, in a ranking of things that businesses are looking for, especially when we think of like business recruitment into this area, their number one item is availability of skilled labor.
Yeah.
And so whether it's somebody thinking about coming to Kern or somebody already doing business in Kern, that's still the number one thing. You can have all the ideas in the world, if you don't have the labor force to make it happen, it doesn't happen.
So this is an industry where it really the training is really relevant in the path of the employee, right? So they it's a skill set that it's just important. There's a lot of things to learn, especially as machinist. And a good example is Modern Machine. I don't like the title job shop, but we do a lot of different jobs, right? We don't have our own product line. So the Navy will call us with a difficult job that they need prototyped, and so we'll take it on. And I think that's where we've gotten a lot of our success, is being able to do hard things that a lot of other shops don't want to do. Right. Well, to be able to do those hard jobs, you're dealing with exotic materials or difficult features and geometries, and it really takes someone who's either experienced those difficulties in the past, or they have the problem-solving skills to be able to work through it. And so that takes time. And so we offshored a lot of our manufacturing over the last 40 years. And so the people who have the skill set to be able to do these things, they're aging out.
Yeah.
They're at the end of their careers. And so I think, and we don't have a lot of the youth interested in manufacturing, because we've been telling them that, oh, you don't need to be a welder, you don't need to be a machinist, go these other careers, because that's how you're going to make a living. And I think now people are, as we're starting to reshore and realize that this workforce, the skilled workforce, is aging out, it's really dire that we get involved in training the youth in wanting to take manufacturing classes and learn the skills that are needed so that we can build a manufacturing base back here in the United States. And me as a small company, and in Kern County, and there's Kern County has a lot of people who can make a lot of things, right? But our main industries in the past has been oil and gas. So there's a lot of people who have trained in oil and gas in the last while, and so there is a skill set there, but we need to get back to, at least in Kern County, we need to build the infrastructure to get the young kids interested, and then to take that interested kid through a process of figuring out what really interests them. If it's electrical engineering or building electrical components, or they want to be, they want to be a machinist, or they want to be a welder, or they want to do assembly fabrication, and then just really dive in and train the young kids so that when they turn 23, they have they've been doing it for 5 years, and they're a real asset to whatever company they go to. And it doesn't take 5 years to be an asset in a shop. Right. It just takes the desire, because if a kid comes in, he wants to learn, he can sweep the floor, he can clean parts, he can help learn how to measure parts. Then he slowly works his way up, and just takes that, like, really wanting to be in that environment. And to do that, we got to start young. We got to get the young kids involved.
Yeah, and it's interesting coming from you in particular, you having all of these career options, including, a 9 to 5 behind a desk and air conditioned, and you're choosing to be back in the 107-degree heat. It the directing of some of our young people away from these kinds of fields into things like, go get your psychology degree or something.
Right.
But this may be the better fit for them if
Right.
it was marketed as a real opportunity. And as you said, as we reshore, you're going to need a ton of these, positions being filled, or you can have the best intention to bring all these, companies and the manufacturing back home. But if there's no one to do it, then it falls.
Yeah, I mean, if just you need two things to be able to manufacture something. You need three main ones. You need the facility to do it in.
Okay.
You need the raw materials, and then you need the machines and the tooling, but you need the people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have any one of those, you can't do any of it, right? So the human involved, the human manufacturer, it's a necessary component to the whole thing working, right? So, and yes, material can be hard to get sometimes, right? But we have, if we want aluminum, there's places around the world to get aluminum, right? If maybe the mill has to do a special run to get a certain size you want, but the capability's there. The lead time in training a person is the longest lead time in any of that process.
Got it.
So that's the one that needs to be, in my opinion, because it's been the most neglected, that we really need to put the importance back on training, and that starts with getting people interested in it again. And like you said, it's a good job for a lot of people.
Yes.
Like it's a rewarding environment. The pay can be well, and it's not like there's an upper ceiling, especially as manufacturers are realizing that, like, hey, this is important, this is needed.
Yeah.
It's not going away. As
Right.
much as AI is involved in our world and helping us move forward, like, and robots will be doing some of the welding,
Right.
but someone's got to be there,
Yeah.
and someone's got to train that robot to weld, and someone has to, and so these aren't jobs that are going away.
Right.
And I think it's a real opportunity to get involved in training people, and and a company like mine, we can't succeed without more people, right? Like, that's our limiting factor in growth. I'm turning down jobs. I turned down a job this morning because I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the people to get it done. And I like to say yes. When work comes in, I'm like, I'll figure out how to get it done.
Yeah.
And I don't like.
Yeah, it's not the best business strategy to turn down a job opportunities.
No, currently the limiting factor I've found is being able to find people, and it's like I said, especially in machining, it's something that it takes a while for someone to be good at it.
Yeah. So if I were to just give you the keys and say, Ryan, what does it look like in terms of how we prepare and build up this workforce to handle some of this load? What say you?
I've actually thought about this a lot recently, and I think it's a multi-step system. We have to build a system, right? The input is people, the output is people, but in between that, the system has developed a skill set, right, for those people. And so, it starts with recruitment. We got to get people involved. We got to get people who want to walk through the door. Then that's step one. Once the people in the door, how do we get them trained? So there's a lot of interaction with what do the employers need? So really interacting with the employers, being like, what is the skill set deficiency that we have? Building that skill, understanding that skill set deficiency, and then really building a curriculum that's seen into the future. Like, what is this industry going to look like? What does it look like now? What does it look like in 20 years?
Right.
Building that curriculum that prepares these people who walk through the door to be assets. Like, at the end of the day, we want people to walk out at the end of the door where they can walk in, they can get a job, they can support their family, they can have a healthy creative life, and be an asset to their employer or be an asset to themselves,
Right.
right? Because that's the thing. It's like if they walk out with a skill set, then they're confident.
Yeah.
They can go wherever they want, and they know that they have a job. That gives somebody, like, they're not out doing stuff they shouldn't be doing because they know they have they feel rewarded.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have to go chase an adrenaline rush or whatever when every day what you're doing and getting paid to do it is satisfying.
Yeah. And you build value in yourself, and so it's just it's building that system, and what does that exactly look like? That's, we will sit around for a while and figure out what that system looks like. But it's a lot of hands-on, it's a lot of getting people interested in it, it's a lot of training and experience. And the main thing with manufacturing is how do you introduce people to different situations and scenarios. And you build these to be problem solvers, because that's what you are when you're making something, right? You see a drawing. How do you make this? You're just solving problems all the way through the steps you're making. And sure, that's different than, let's say, being someone who sits in front of a machine all day long and pushes the same button over and over and over again. And there is some of that, right? There is some of that. But I think a lot of that is going to be automated.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, when you're talking about robotics or whatever, anything that is rinse and repeat, that's the easy job to develop a machine or a robot to do that.
Yeah.
But that customization, like you said, taking on jobs from the Navy that are so tough nobody else wants to do, you're going to need a human. You may have some AI assistants or something,
Sure,
but you're going to need some human ingenuity.
Yeah, and you need a problem solver, right? It's like, okay, how are we going to deal with this material that's really hard to deal with, and this geometry that, and the thing is, this is interesting. So, I got a drawing from the Navy a couple months ago, and I'm looking at this. I'm like, this is a really difficult part. Showed it to the people around me, and everyone was like, yeah, this is really complicated.
Right.
Very difficult for even a shop of today's, like, skill set in our tooling, and which is way better than it's ever been to do, And so then I called the guy back, and and the tolerances are like plus or minus 1,000th, really tight tolerances on a very complicated geometric part, almost even very difficult to measure. And I said, well, okay, what's going on? The part's been made for 75 years, which means this part was made on a manual machine.
Yeah.
And probably in a shop down in LA somewhere, and they've been making it for a long time. And so the skills are like, we have the skills, right?
Yeah.
There are people out there who can look at that and be like, I made that on a manual mill. I made that on a manual lathe. And so part of the system is tapping into that. So it's just creating an urgency for us to tap into this skill set before it's gone. And so, there's a lot of things creating this urgency, but it's very important that we take it seriously and we work on transferring the skill set of the people aging out into the youth. Yeah,
and as we've talked before, there's some very large employers that have taken that realize this urgency so seriously, and they take it so seriously that they're just building their own training programs.
Right.
Yeah, I mean the demand is there, the need for these skills are there, the opportunity for young people to build bright futures for themselves, and in some way, you haven't said this directly, but in some ways, it's almost a national security crisis.
Sure.
If it's pretty hard for a nation to defend itself if it can't manufacture the equipment necessary to do just that.
Yeah, it's become really relevant or apparent to the Department of Defense. It's like we need to have people who know what they're doing, like who can build things again.
Yeah. So, is there any other messages that you'd like to share related to your companies, or just this need to reignite our manufacturing capacity through the workforce of the future?
Yeah, I again appreciate the time to get out here and give out, as a small business, we deal with the needs of finding skilled employers every day. And I think, we understand the urgency, and we're going to work really hard on developing the system to make sure that we can reshore in America and we can continue to build things here. And so, yeah, I think the main takeaway for me is just how urgent it is.
Right.
Like we really need to focus on this, and we really need to solve this, and it's just positive in all directions, right? We're just taking people who and giving them jobs and training people, and it's only a positive thing for this country, for the community. So.
Yeah. How does somebody get a hold of you?
Yeah, so the best way to get a hold of me is through our website, ernstusa.com. I think email address is info@ernstusa.com. And if you have any questions or want to comment on this, please reach out. If you're a good welder, reach out.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. So you heard it from Ryan himself. If you're interested in tapping into some of this great insight about where we need to get started in terms of developing, the workforce of the future, with specifically regarding our ability to manufacture the things that we need, or if you're interested in going to work for Ryan, reach out and make that connection. And just remember, all in all, when you're talking jobs, talk job time.